Welcome to part 4 of this series. Remember in the first video, if you made it this far, if you hadn't watched the other ones, there's 3 more videos you gotta go back and watch and then go back to this video. But if you've been following this series, in the first video, I brought up Galatians 4:27, and we read that. It says, "For it is written, be glad, barren woman, you who never bore a child, shout for joy and cry aloud, because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband." And so I did a little teaser in the first video saying, well, I know this isn't what Paul is talking about here, but for those who were like me, because I started out thinking that this verse, related to 1 Corinthians chapter 7. God showed me it does not. But, again, in the first video, I did a little teaser and I said, for those that believe that, let's take a look at, what it says, blah, blah, blah. And as I was sitting here, God, gave me a, revelation, because, when we go, above, in 26, but the woman Sarah represents the heavenly Jerusalem. She is the free woman, and she is our mother. She only bore one child, and in fact, what he's referring to here is that, she struggled having a child, and God only gave her one child. But through that one child came Israel. Think of Israel. Israel's a nation. And that nation has many children. Right? And so then when we read, for it is written, be glad, barren woman, you who never bore a child, shout for joy and cry aloud, because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband. Now we kind of get a sense of what Paul is talking about here. Paul is not referring to it's better to be single than to be married. No, that's not what he is saying. And we can even go back to the first video, and even back to the third video, where I brought up Ecclesiastes 4:9. 2 are better than 1. And then also Genesis 2:18, where God gives Adam a helper, right? We can also go back and look at that. But that's not even what Paul is saying here. Paul is referring to Sarah. the mother of Israel, and how even though she only, physically bore only one child, she has many. Because all of the Israelites would be her children. It's the promise that God, he's talking about the promise, how God promised Abraham that his children would be as numerous as the stars, as numerous as the sand along the seashore. And, yet Sarah only bore one child. And Israel as a whole, Israel has many. So that's kind of, in a sense, you kind of see that's the path that he is taking. See, now it all makes sense. Because think about it. I mean, yes, when you're single, you're not going to bear a child when you're single. Not necessarily, but it's not necessarily a bad thing either, right? And when you're married, just like Sarah, like she only bore one child. So basically, when you're married, you can only bear X many amount of, children as, sperm cells break the egg, right? Because not every time that you have sex, you're not going to get pregnant every single, but because there's a process. The sperm has to break has to fertilize the egg, and then all of that, stuff there happens, right? But you can kind of see where you can only have so many children, being married. And then when you're single, it's almost like, and that's, even me, I kind of have a hard time, explaining what Paul is talking about there. But just think of a babysitter. Or because when you're single, you get to babysit. You have that freedom to babysit. And those children that you babysit are kind of like your children. I mean, I never, babysat before, but I can kind of, you get almost, when you think about that, when you think about a single woman, a woman that is single, babysitting, well, for her, that is fulfillment. That is, the she gets joy from that. Because, like, she treats them as if it was her own. And so I think that's also what Paul is trying to say here. And so maybe I missed the mark, maybe not. I'm not a biblical scholar, but